Hi everyone, I'm John Seigenthaler here with former Associated Press Baghdad Chief of Bureau Steve Hurst, and we're talking about the 5th anniversary of the war in Iraq. Welcome back, Steve. It's good to see you here.
Good to be here, John.
I want to talk a little bit about the Iraqi people. Try to give us the viewpoint of what they see now in Iraq.
They see in Iraq where the likelihood of stepping out into the street and being killed is smaller. But they see in Iraq where stepping out into the street still puts you in grave danger of being killed. So it becomes a numbers game.
What about electricity and water?
It's terrible. And until that gets sorted out, I think you're going to have a very unhappy Iraqi population, and one that is still liable to accept the influences of either the radical Sunnis or radical Shiites. In Baghdad, as I was last there about 3 weeks ago, there were only about 4 hours of electricity a day, off times overnight. So you have a population that lives in a major Arab metropolitan area where everything was constructed for electricity. Come summertime, which is coming, it's already up in the 80s now and soon will be incredibly hot, you need air conditioning to live in modern Baghdad. If there's no electricity, there's no air conditioning. If there's no electricity, there's no refrigeration in the summertime. So you have a very unhappy population. The streets are bad. The streets are full of checkpoints, full of barricades, full of barbed wire.
So it's hard for the people there.
It's very difficult for these people. And you add into that the fact that a great number of the doctors, for example, the college professors, people who are highly trained engineers have left the country. So what you have is a crumbling infrastructure with no real support system for the Iraqi people.
Well, is there any confidence in the political system?
Not much, no. The political system is one right now where the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, is a Shiite Prime Minister, and he is working for the interests of the Shiites, secondarily for the Sunnis, but very secondarily. And there has been very little progress on any kind of legislation or improvements for the people in Baghdad or outside of Baghdad.
What about Iraq, Iran, Iraq's former enemy? What's the influence of Iran on Iraq now?
Iran has great influence. It's something that probably isn't written and talked about as much as it should be. The Iranians have great influence with the Supreme Islamic Iraqi Council, which is probably the most powerful Shiite organization, therefore the most powerful Shiite political group in the country. They have still have great influence with Muqtada al-Sadr and his Mahdi army, that whole group. And they have influence inside the government. So across the board with the Shiite portion of the population, which is the majority of the population, they have great influence. They're doing this largely sub rosa, below the radar, but you can be sure that this influence is going to show itself, come to the surface once, especially the Americans, if they do begin to withdraw.
It's fascinating to hear your point of view now that you're back here in the States. Thanks very much, Steve. I'm John Seigenthaler for the Associated Press.